Here's a visualization that gives us three cards with percentage attendance on the three cards. The first card here gives me the percentage attendance of the year group or year groups that I can choose from the slicer here. But the second and third cards give the percentage attendance of a specific year group. So in other words, they ignore whatever values our users choose in slicers. And this is because I wanted to create a value here that shows me the attendance percentage for the whole school. This is a primary school, so I wanted it to show the percentage attendance from nursery through to the end of year 6. But for this card here, I just wanted to show the percentage attendance for reception to year 6, in other words, ignoring nursery. And that's because a lot of statutory returns look at reception to year 6. So I wanted to be able to allow the users to look at a particular year group, in this case year 4, and realise that the attendance of year 4 is 98.56%, a healthy 98.56%, whereas we can compare that with the attendance for the whole school, 91.35, and the attendance just for year reception to year 6, which is 91.15. And as we use these slicers here, we would realise that the dip, the relatively poor attendance in the whole school, is caused by this really poor attendance we've got in year 2. So that was what I wanted to do. In other words, I wanted to create some measures that would, in the first instance, give me a responsive value there, one that responds to the slicers on year group there and changes depending on which year group or year groups that I choose. So there's year 4 and year 5, and there's the attendance percentage for year 4 and year 5. But the next two cards here need to stay the same. So the question was, how can I create some DAX measures that do that? Be responsive on the one hand, but not responsive at all on the other. And that's what this video will show you. Okay, let's have a look at the DAX that are used to do these calculations. So I've got to the Visualizations tab here. And I put most of these measures in the attendance summary file here. So you see I have three particular DAX measures here. I've got the basic attendance percentage measure, which many of you will already have created. It's this one here that I've highlighted at the top, and it just works out the attendance based as the sum of present and authorised educational activity and the sum of possible attendances over the academic year to date. So this is just using sum as the formulas here to calculate the measure, and it's relatively straightforward, and I think a lot of people do calculate the attendance percentage like that. So how do we calculate this one here, the attendance across all year groups from nursery 1 all the way up to year 6? Well, again, it's a measure, and it's based on the measure we've just created there. Let me open it up. It's this one here. And we're using the calculate function to generate this. Now, calculate is a very special function which basically allows us to set a completely different filter context than whatever's current on the visualizations that you've got on screen. So at the moment on this screen, I've got a filter context that's filtering for year 4 and year 5. But we can use calculate to specify a different filter context that allows us to look not just at year 4 and 5 pupils, but all the pupils in the entire attendance table. So that's what we do here. We use the calculate formula there, and then we have to tell the calculate formula what we actually want to do, and basically it's to count up, to add up all the attendance percentages. And here's the new context, the new filter context that we want it to apply when it's making that calculation. So we want all of the year taught encodes there. So we've got a function called all, which does that, returns a table that contains every single year taught encode. So that gives me nursery all the way through to end of year 6. So that's the one that does this middle card there. And then we have a card here that looks specifically at reception to year 6. So to generate that particular measure, here's the code that we use to generate that measure. Again, we're using the calculate function. Again, we're calculating the original attendance percentage measure there. But this time we're putting a filter on pupil data, but we're filtering it, and again that use of all there. All makes sure that it takes off any filters that are currently there and looks at every single year group in the pupil data file and makes sure that it's greater than or equal to 0. It's slightly complicated here because I'm using a year index. And if you've seen some of my previous videos, you'll see how I use the year index there to help us with the issue of nursery and and reception, where obviously the year total code is N1, but using that as a value is very difficult in a lot of formulas. So we create this year index column, and basically N1 is value of -2, N2 has got a value of -1, and reception has got a value of 0. So when we put our measure together, we can say that if the year index is greater than or equal to 0, that means we're picking up reception and above pupils. So that's all that's doing. It's relatively simple and straightforward, but the magic really is using the calculate function. And like I say, we'll use the calculate function wherever we need to set a filter context, is what it's called, that ignores whatever our user or whatever some of the other visualizations might have applied to this particular visual. So that's how we've done it. I hope you find that useful. Thank you.